Welcome to the Be Better podcast with Lee Barrison. True stories from Bakersfield's business owners and entrepreneurs. Lee is a local real estate broker that sold over 1,700 houses in almost 18 years. He is a husband, father, owner, and lead coach of Infinity Real Estate Services. And now it's time for the Be Better podcast.
What's up, guys? It's Lee Barrison with the Be Better podcast, and today is episode number 12. And again, I just first off want to start off by thanking every single person out there that has subscribed to the podcast, for those out there that have engaged in the podcast by leaving a comment so we know you're alive. But more importantly, guys, I certainly hope that you guys are getting some good content out of this podcast, because that's my intention with this. We don't do it for money. We're not here to raise money. Basically, we're here to impact others and their lives, and that's why we call it the Be Better podcast. You know, we want you to be better agents. We want you to be better humans. We want you to be a better parent, be a better spouse, be a better spiritual leader, be a better leader in general, be a better contributor, and the list goes on, including your finances, including your family. We want you to be better, because in order to improve in your life, you obviously have to focus on becoming better all the time. So, with that being said, guys, I want to thank you for subscribing to this podcast. And today, episode 12, I'm extremely excited to announce our special guest, who is none other than Mr. Joe Smith, the LineBackerDAD. Say hi, Joe.
Indeed. How are you? Man, I loved that.
Was that a good intro?
That was great. Man? Indeed.
Fantastic. So if for those of you guys that don't know Joe, Joe and I met in, where do we meet? Did we meet at soccer?
The gas station
That's
first.
Right. Okay. That's right. I met this guy at a gas station. And I'm glad you remembered that, because I usually remember that. But yeah, Joe and I met at the gas station. So he and I were pumping gas, and then he was driving like an undercover cop car. And I thought either this guy is...
He's a Rick Ross.
Yeah. I said, this is either Rick Ross or he's an undercover cop portraying Rick Ross, which he was neither of those. So he goes, gosh. He got a laugh out of it. He says, I get that a lot. Introduced myself, and we kind of went on our ways. But it's funny, Joe, because I think somehow, some way, God basically kind of brought us back together.
Indeed, yes.
Right?
Yes.
So then the next time I see Joe, it was at soccer. With his kids. And he's obviously, I can recognize the guy because it's Rick Ross or it's Joe Smith. It's one or the other. Yeah. And so sure enough, he and I hit it off, and we've just become dear friends.
Indeed.
And obviously, Joe has... really impressed me in some of the activities that he does with his your contribution to others, right? And so Joe, why don't we get started just talking a little bit about your upbringing, where you're from,
okay,
and all that good stuff.
Will do. So I think before I say that, I enjoyed when you came out. You know, one of my big things is children, right? Pouring into youth development, 100%. Youth engagement. And you came out with your team and did the career day, right? And so I think for me, that's when I knew, okay, you talk about building with like-minded people. That's when I knew this guy. I'm like, okay, he's about it. He's about the work. He's about, serving and helping others other than himself. And so 100%. I was like, my guy.
I like it. Yeah.
Indeed.
Actually, that's another meeting that we had.
Yeah.
I remember we had it at Compton.
It was at Compton Junior High. Yeah.
Compton Junior High. We had what was it called? A career day.
Yes.
Yeah. That was cool. Yeah.
All right. So a little bit about me.
Tell us about yourself, Joe.
I'm a guy from Sacramento, California, born and raised. I was raised in a single parent home. I have one biological brother, one biological sister, and what I always say is 3 other brothers, right? Non-biological.
Yeah.
We all grew up in similar situations. One of my brothers whom lost his parents early and was raised by his aunt. Another one of my brothers two brothers actually, who were just in situations where their mom was in and out, and they were raised by
prison.
Home.
Okay, got it.
In and out of the home due to life, right?
Yeah.
And things that were going on.
Sure.
Similar to the experiences that we've shared, much to yourself. And at the point in their high school lives, they were left alone, right? And so we were a community of young men that took each other together, right? And my mom took it upon herself to love on them, as their own. And at one point, they were even living with us. You can imagine, 5 guys, my size, living in a 2-bedroom apartment.
Okay.
She was the type of lady that would, she would do for everyone.
Yeah.
My friends and cousins would joke because she'd come home with bags of KFC, like drop it on the table and run.
And it's gone in 5 minutes?
Yes, right?
Yeah.
But she had a little paper bag that she'd walk to her room, and my friend was like, hell, that's weird, man, But she knew, we were growing, and that was the kind of lady she was.
Yeah.
So
your mom's a really special lady, too, I know. I mean, you've spoken really highly of her.
Yes,
yeah. Super
special. I think, all of the qualities that I have in serving others and helping others, I get from her, right? She was my model that, you talk about selflessness. Man, she was amazing, right? And then I have a grandmother who last dime. You know what I mean? The community would come over to like get food, or she made this infamous Kool-Aid, They would come over to get these jars of Kool-Aid.
Are you kidding me?
Miss Lillian, do you have any Kool-Aid today? But that was the type of ladies that I saw.
Yeah.
So it was just natural for me to take on all of those great characteristics they had and expand on it. And now I'm doing the work that I'm doing today.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Joe. I mean, guys, if you guys haven't heard of Joe Smith, otherwise known as LineBackerDAD, log on to his website and learn more about this guy. I mean, it's amazing what he's doing in the community. It's just go to www.linebackerdad.com. I think the reason why he chose this name is because, he's basically just twisted steel full sex appeal. I mean, this guy's he's a beast.
I don't know about all that.
But
so let me share a little bit.
Yeah,
so,
please do.
I was once a linebacker, right?
Yes.
And
who'd you play for?
Kennedy High School in Sacramento.
Okay.
Then I transferred. I played 2 years at BC, and then I was recruited, and I played 2 years in Hampton, Virginia for the Hampton Pirates.
Nice. Okay.
The real HU,
Okay.
Hampton University in Virginia. And we were fortunate enough to win championships every year I was there.
Wow. Okay.
Right. And then I played some semi-pro ball, won a championship with the Crusaders out on the East Coast, and I just really had a good football experience. But to my football experience, I was kind of forced into that football deal, right? I wasn't really seen for my mindset and everything that I had to offer. And so I rejected the football, like when I went to college and learned that there was more than just football. I used to reject it, because I just didn't want to be the jock. But I had so much passion as a linebacker.
Yeah.
Right?
Why did you have that passion?
Honestly, I love the violence. I love the game. I love the camaraderie. I was always playing with a great group of guys.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think there was a void there in my life, and football played a huge part in filling just a void that I had.
It was something that I'm sure you're naturally good at too.
I was.
Yeah.
I was all right. I think I had to work at it. I had to work at it. But it turned to be a good thing for me.
Yeah.
So the passion of linebacking, right? You just have to be a different person to be a linebacker, right? You got to have a little bit of crazy, some tenacity. You got to be a leader at the same time. It's just all these things going on. So I think where LineBackerDAD came from, I think they were like playing around, because I'm a bit of the same thing as a dad as I was a linebacker. It's different, but I'm the same crazy. I'm the same passionate.
Yeah.
I'm the same loyalty. I'm the same tenacity. I'm the same overbearing. All these things. So he's like, LineBackerDAD. And I'm like, huh, right? And then people are like, I like that. So the same passion as a linebacker, I take into fathering. 100%, full steam, all go, and so thus, here we go. LineBackerDAD.
So that's where it all came from.
That's where it came from.
Interesting. So, so just kind of switching gears here. So, but you got hurt in football.
I did.
Right, and that's basically what made you exit the game, basically, right?
Yes.
You almost broke your head.
Yeah, I bust my head open.
Yeah.
Right. You talk about dumb decisions. I knew never to get on the bike without a helmet.
Mm-hmm.
I decided to get on the bike without a helmet. Bust my head open 2 weeks before a pro day, and that was that.
Wow. But it was kind of a blessing, though, in a way, too, right?
Blessing in disguise.
Yeah.
Not only was that my opportunity to look at what I had in front of me, right, and my wife who was just recently pregnant, but that was when I started working in schools.
Very good. Yeah. Okay. And obviously, I mean, Joe has a deep connection with children, you know, and that leadership aspect. And one more plug I want to give Joe before we go any further. But if you want to look up Joe on his Facebook page, go to Facebook and just look up LineBackerDAD. And that's where you'll find Joe as well. So, all right. So let's switch gears, Joe. Ready?
Yep.
Let's
do it.
So here we go. So I recently attended an event that you put on specifically, but it was the Father Expo, I believe is what it was called. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Now, when I wasn't sure what to expect when I went there, but there was at least, 150, 200 fathers in the room.
Yes.
And you know, we played some games. You know, there was you gave a great speech.
Okay.
You know, you spoke a lot about the leadership aspect of being a father, right? And I was so impressed and taken back by that, just because of the fact that in today's society, well, for one, you know, the word divorce is basically just a default word that people use when they get into a small argument with their wife or their husband or whatever, and then the father leaves. Or basically, there's a lot of children out there that just don't have father figures around.
Yeah.
And you're one of them.
Indeed.
Right?
I was.
And so tell me a little bit about the Father Day, you know, the Father Expo.
Well, what I will tell you is just about father engagement in general, right?
Please.
So
I got to know.
The work, there's a separation. You know, I do work with a district, and then I do work on the side as a contractor, right? And many of the schools that I do work with have a need specifically for father engagement, right? We talk about this parent engagement, this community engagement thing, but they have a need, you know, for me to come on and engage fathers like they've never been engaged before, right? If you don't know, fathers is a direct correlation to student achievement, right? And students feeling confident, comfortable, positive academic outcomes, and positive behavior outcomes in the classroom.
Why is that?
When fathers are involved, the statistics show, right? Confidence goes up. If you're more confident, right, when you're in the classroom, you're looking for learning in a different way, right? When fathers are reading to their children, what do your students want to do? Like, dad likes to read. Reading is cool.
Yeah. Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
Dad talks about math, right? When we go to the store, he's letting me count the money out to pay, right? There must be something to this math thing. And so, you know, when you see that, right?
Because kids learn visually.
Yes.
More than anything, I think, right?
Yes.
I mean, you can sit there and tell a kid what to do all day long, but they're not going to do it unless they see you do it.
Right.
And as a father, it's our job to be leaders and set the example. And so, like you said, if I'm reading a book to my son, then all of a sudden my son wants to read books and so on and so forth, right?
Yes. And that's the key to it, right? The level of literacy. That's a big thing. But I think you hit the nail on the head, practicing what we preach, right? Modeling what we say.
Yeah.
Those things are important. So in these school districts, you know, they bring me on and I go and, you know, whether it's before school, you know, in some instances I've done assemblies after school, in the evening, whatever need that the school has, I look to meet it, right? And I engage these fathers and I talk to them about the importance of being involved. Right.
Yeah.
Certain pieces like literacy. That's the big one, right? Where I dive into literacy. But in general, just being involved and looking to do that in a way that you've never done it before.
Sure. So let me ask you this. I mean, you work with a lot of kids, you know.
Yes.
what about the girls out there that don't have fathers in their lives? I mean, what impact does that play in their lives?
Huge.
Right?
So as men who have daughters ourselves,
Yes.
right? I have 2 daughters.
Yeah.
You know, when we talk about that confidence piece, that lends just to the girls as it does in any situation, right? It gives them a higher sense of self, right? It lends to them knowing 100% who they are, where they
As
come
a woman.
from, as a woman,
Yeah.
right? How a man is supposed to treat them, you know, how a man is supposed to view them.
Yes.
It's huge. And academically, you know, the kind of the same thing in schools.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, it's funny, but you guys got to check this out, guys. I mean, honestly speaking, go to Joe's Facebook page and
Please do.
And have you know, just take a quick look at some of the videos that he posts on his page, because they're, I mean, you want to talk about leadership with kids. You guys have this little mantra that you guys say, right, on the way to school?
So every day, we call it the affirmation, right? And, you know, we say for themselves, you have to be able to affirm yourself.
Okay.
Right? But at the same time, you have to allow for others to affirm you, right? And so we do every morning affirmations. And it goes a little something like this.
Yes, let's hear it.
Good, better, best. Never let it rest until your good is better and your better is best. And then they'll say, never do tomorrow what you can do today. Right? And then it goes on to good, better, best. Never let it rest till your good is better, your better is best. Never do tomorrow what you can do today. No weapon formed against me shall prosper. And then the last one that we end with is let your light shine. So we've pre-taught them that what you believe in, you are supposed to act a certain type of way.
I love it.
Right?
Yes.
And that way you act, you don't have to say anything. You don't have to do anything, but just naturally, you're going to have a light around you.
Yeah.
And every day you need to remember and remind yourself to let your light.
Let that light shine.
Let that light shine.
Yeah.
And then my son started another one where, you know, we were talking about something and he was like, Dad, that should be an affirmation. So he was like, don't let. And I'm like, what he's talking about? And he was like, fear stop you.
Oh, okay. Nice. Okay.
So on the back end of that, we add that. So, you know, when we finish that, he'll kick it off. He said, don't let, and they'll say, fear stop you. And then we expanded on that. You know, they talk about all the work that I do. And so then they were like, oh, well, Dad, you go to work to this. So, okay, so let's do another one. Why do we go to work? You know, and then I'll say, to help others, be of service, and then they say, get that money.
I love that.
So every day we do that. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, you guys got to check it out. When you go to his page, he'll have a couple of videos of them, you know, him driving them to school, basically, and all that good stuff. So,
Yeah.
So Joe, I mean, tell me about this. I mean, so like, you're a great father. You're a great.
I'm trying to be.
You're trying to be, right?
Definitely.
You know, but I've seen you in action, so I would rate you as a great father.
Thank you, sir.
But you know, like, what is your mission for other fathers out there? You know, like, and what is your mission to impact the community in that father, you know, aspect?
I would say my number one objective is to break cycles.
Okay, cycles
Right.
like what?
Fatherlessness,
Okay,
right? Being present, right? I think there's a difference between presence, right, where we could be in the home, our presence is in the home,
but
are
you're on
we
the cell
present?
phone the whole time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Are we where our feet are? Are we engaged? Are we communicating? Are we giving the things that we know are most important for our kids? And so I'm on a mission to break cycles,
Yeah.
right? I want to hear less of I didn't grow up without a father.
Yeah, you hear that a lot, don't you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot, you know. And if your father isn't in the home, you know, the fact that they can still be there, right, and engage and be present and be active 100%.
I love it. I love it. So basically, it's to break the cycles of the society nowadays, basically, because it's so common where there's non-engagement.
Yes.
You know, and I gotta admit, I mean, I'm guilty of it because there's so many distractions out there that prevent me from engaging, you know, all the time with my kids. You know, being that I'm in real estate sales, you know, my phone goes off a lot. And,
Indeed.
you know, I'm on social media. I'm guilty. right?
As I'm good,
Right.
I give it. I'm guilty too.
Yeah.
Right. But in those moments where I'm guilty, like, are also the moments where I try to be most self-aware.
Yes.
Right. And know when to turn that phone
Yes.
over or to take them out.
And I think that's you just you really struck a chord right there. I mean, you have to have self-awareness. As a father, I'm speaking to myself, but
Yeah.
you have to have self-awareness in order to break the cycle of non-engagement. So for instance, if the phone is ringing and we're eating dinner, listen, that can wait. I don't need to answer that phone.
Indeed.
If the house is burning down, call the fire department. Don't call me.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Social media, the posts will still be there. They will never stop coming.
Right.
And again, I think I think you're absolutely right. Self-awareness and being aware of your activities or your inactivities of engagement with the children. Right.
Yes. You made me think of something.
Yeah. Bring that up.
So I did an event twice, and both times 2 separate young ladies told me something in these events, right?
Okay.
The thing that stuck out to them most and the thing that they loved the most was when I honored my wife. Right? One of them I gave flowers to her, and the other one I just made mention of her and how strong she was. And both times 2 young ladies walked up and said, "That was the coolest part, when you gave your wife flowers." Or in the other one, when you were talking about your wife, that was so cool,
Why do they find that to be, intriguing?
For me, I wasn't always as outwardly affectionate to my
Uh-huh.
wife, right? And I think when I am, the kids get to see
Very attractive.
a different part of that, right?
Yeah.
And I think it teaches we can be affectionate, right? We can be loving. And
we can still be a man.
And still be a man. That is masculinity, right?
Right.
Sometimes we get this, constructed view of what a man is supposed to be, what masculinity is. That's not masculinity at all.
But it's society that engraves that into our brain, I think.
Yeah. So when our kids, when you were just talking about, they get to see these different, when they see us treating mom or a significant other or our spouse or the person we chose to make these kids with, when they see us honoring them and respecting them and interacting, and it teaches them, oh, that's relationship.
Yes.
That's love. That's a union.
You just dropped a bomb right there. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's great stuff. And everything we've just talked about. That's great.
Yeah.
Stuff.
Yeah, Joe. My daughter, she just turned 14.
Okay.
And she actually just got her first boyfriend. Yeah.
I'm not ready. That's when the linebackers are going to come out.
Right. So, but, this is how it all started. My wife and I were sitting on the couch. Because my wife and I met when she was I was 14, she was 13, right?
Right, yes.
Okay, so I, obviously, potentially this could happen, you know what I mean? Because it did with us, right?
Indeed, yeah.
So when it was a Saturday morning, we're sitting on the couch with my daughter, and basically I just put it out there. I just said, hey, listen, Jossie, do you have any boys that you like at school or anything like that? Mm-hmm. She's like, no, Dad, no, I don't have any boys. No boys, or whatever. I go, well, that's fine, but, I really want to have that relationship with you where you feel okay to tell me that you like a boy.
Yes.
Okay? Because me and your mom both met when we were about your age. So, if you do like a boy, I'm not going to be mad at you. It's kind of natural at your age. And then she rolled her eyes and she goes, well, there is this one kid at school, Dad. But listen, I got to tell you, he's in music and, he's in oral language and he won the math bowl and he's really smart. Yeah. And,
she knows that.
Yeah, it's like trying to defend him before we even.
Yes. Yeah.
And so, what I found to be really interesting, and like you said, being able to treat your spouse with respect, showing your daughter how a woman should be treated. So therefore, when she's looking for a boyfriend or a man, then she's going to expect somebody like her father.
Exactly.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, she made a pretty good move. I mean, I'm pretty impressed by her
Good job,
decision.
Dad.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it could have been, that, I don't know, that loser kid with long hair and baggy pants or whatever.
Yeah,
but this kid,
the worst.
Yeah, but she managed to make a great decision, and I support it.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with it. And I've actually met the kid a few times, and he's very polite, he's very kind, and and again, I don't know if that would have happened if, as a father, I wasn't around.
Yeah. The power of an awesome father.
The power of an awesome father, because what I've seen with growing up and with females in general, and again, I'm speaking out, to the ladies out there right now, is that when there's not a father figure in the household to set examples and to provide that leadership experience within the household, then they start looking for it outside of the household, and that's when they start looking for somebody that's just willing to accept them but not respect them.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And
Yeah.
I'm with you 100%.
Yeah, right.
Indeed.
And so, anyways, let's go ahead and wrap this up, Joe. But
All right.
I mean, any last words to anybody out there in the audience?
Yeah, I think a lot of things that we talked about today, you look at it and it might automatically go in the box to family, right, and
Sure.
father. But there's some principles that we spoke on that are just applicable to everyone, right? When we talk about human decency and doing what you can, fatherhood takes on this special thing, right? And, I talk about two things that I just want to leave out there.
Sure.
Nobody has all the right answers in anything, right? And so in everything, there's a self-doubt piece, right? Where in our minds, we create these things that doubt the true limits that we have, right? And our true capacity and what we can truly offer and give to everybody that comes in contact with, including the community,
Sure.
right? And to limit that self-doubt, right? And then second is no stinking thinking.
No stinking thinking.
No stinking thinking.
Tell us what you mean by that. Have a good attitude and keep the mind nice and clear, and don't have negative thoughts, right?
So, I tell my kids, your thoughts become your words. Your words become your actions, right? Your actions over time affect your character, and your character determines your fate, right? And the different things you put out there. And so it starts with your mind, right? No stinking thinking. So for a father, a businessman, a business owner, an agent, customer service, whatever it is, right? Eliminate the stinking thinking.
Everything starts in the mind.
Everything starts in the mind.
I could not agree with you more. And again, that goes down to the people that you hang out with, right?
Yeah.
That the things that you listen to, the books you read,
Indeed.
all these things that you allow in your mind, plus the words that come out of your mouth. I'm a firm believer in affirmations.
Yeah.
So if you sit there and tell yourself you're no good and you can't do it, well, guess what? You're right. But if you say that you can do it and that you're worthy of it and you deserve it, then guess what? You're right.
Yes.
It doesn't matter.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
So, okay, good.
Indeed.
Well, Joe, listen, I really appreciate you being on the show.
I appreciate
really
you.
do.
Thank you.
And again, guys, if you guys want to get to know Joe just a little bit better, are there any events that they need to know about coming up at all?
So not major. Most of my events are specific to a school.
Sure, okay.
But in the near future,
Sure.
I'm working on something big in a few cities.
Okay.
That they should be privy to. I'll be in Oakland this weekend, actually.
Okay.
For a fatherhood summit.
Sweet.
For the
Wow.
city of Oakland. Organizations out there doing some great things similar to the work that I'm doing, and we're connecting, right? Because it's about connecting with like-minded people. Right. Like what brought me here today, connecting with an awesome man who's doing some great things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Joe. I appreciate that. Well, listen, follow Joe, LineBackerDAD.com, or go to his Facebook. Check him out. He's an amazing father figure. He's an amazing person. Big heart. big thinker. And with that being said, guys, we are going to sign off. So again, one more time, if you haven't subscribed to our podcast, the Be Better Podcast, get on your smartphone, get on Google Play, and go to the podcast and press that little button that says subscribe and start listening to some of the previous podcasts and the ones that are set to come. I really do appreciate everybody out here that supports our movement. And with that being said, guys, have a great day, and we'll talk soon.